Overpopulation. Way back in 1950, when my parents were born, there were 2.5 billion people on this planet. By the time I arrived in 1985, this had doubled to 5 billion people. Today, there are roughly 7 billion, and by the time I retire, it's expected to be around 10 billion people. That means that it took from the beginning of humanity, 200,000 years ago, until 1950 to reach 2.5 billion people, but it will only take 100 more years to add 3 times that amount. In other words, the population is growing exponentially. Let me put it differently. By the time you've reached the end of this video, about 300 people have been added to the planet. In an hour from now, there will be 8,500 more people, and this time tomorrow, we'll have 200,000 new pride and joy. 1.4 million per week, and 76 million per year. And when there are more people, there are more mouths to be fed. In fact, there's more demand for all the stuff that we need to live. Imagine that the world's population has tripled since the 1950s. That means that we need 3 times as much oil, wood, coal, uranium, electricity, potable water, fish, meat, cereals, vegetables, and of course space. Space to live, but also to grow the food and produce the good stuff we need. When it comes down to world population, is it really the more the merrier?
Yeah! You all know where this is going, right?
Oh, yeah.
You guys don't know? Okay. Let me just read this, okay? Population control, reproductive rights, and women's empowerment. The persistent issue of overpopulation and lack of birth control is seen as something that contributes greatly to the increase of poverty here in the Philippines. The CBCP is adamant that the abstinence is the only solution, but the government says that abstinence is far from possible in status quo. And since the state cannot possibly regulate sexual activity unless they would go to every room, the most feasible way is to promote safe sex. Question R. Given that the reproductive awareness is not enough, is sex education in schools and overt promotion contraceptive use a valid solution? If so, how should sex ed be taught? Each of you will be given 5 minutes, since we are timed right now. So each of you will be given 5 minutes to answer the question. But right now, it would be in any order. So anyone who would like to go first. Pastor Etienne. All right.
Timer starts now. Basically, abstinence is the answer. Christian point of view is we believe that sex should be limited to a married couple. Married couple means you and your wife or you and your husband, not somebody else's married couple. Okay, so that's what we believe in, the sanctity of marriage, and we believe that sex should be kept there. And even though the deal with the population control is yes, it's kept there, but the problem is people end up having 5, 10, 15 kids. When asked why, it's because they have nothing better to do at night or they're hungry. The Bible says to be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth, but it's not the responsibility of one family to do so. But what's happening today is, the truth of the matter is that there are people who are having sex outside of marriage. There are families who don't have the ability to take care of even one child, having 10 children. And yes, it's because of lack of education, and yes, it's also because of lack of resources. So my stand is, as much as possible, yes, abstain, keep it within the marriage. But it's happening. It's happening here in the Philippines, and it's kind of getting out of control, and that's why the government has come in to put in the RH bill. I believe that education is key, and I think people should be taught and understand. I want to put this allegory to it. Is war good? No. War happens and people get killed. Now, war happens whether it's good or not, war happens. All right? But the funny thing is, if you go into war and war is happening, yet you do not agree with war, and then you don't arm your people, what's going to happen? You go into war, you don't believe in it, but you're going into war, but you don't arm your people. They have no weapons. They have no guns. They're not taught how to shoot. They're not taught how to take. What happens is they will be slaughtered, and they will die, and you will lose the war. It is not God's will that, and at any point that people, kill each other, go to war. But it happens, and yet people do. You see in the Bible, the Israelites going into war and defending themselves as much. So I want to put that allegory here. I think people should understand that the idea of reproductive health, and I believe that the government, the RH bill, is a good step towards people understanding. But our church stand is basically marriage, sex should be between a husband and a wife, same husband, same wife, in the context of that, and if they need to be educated, then I think they should do so and do whatever possible. Now, we do not believe in abortion or in euthanasia. That is not something we believe in.
Contraceptives.
Contraceptives. I prayed about this. I really asked God about this, and the Bible brought me to the Word of God brought me to David, talking in the Psalms, saying that while you were yet in your mother's womb, I knew you. So I believe at the point of conception there is already life, but prior to conception, I do not believe that. I don't believe that people are already alive somewhere in heaven, and then when they conceive, okay, God's gonna grab a hold, go inside now. I don't believe in that. But I believe that life begins at conception. So
Is it okay to use contraceptives?
well, in my understanding, in my personal belief, yeah, if it's for family planning, but if it's not just to have sex, hey, I want to have sex, so I'm going to use contraception. Go ahead, let's do it. Come on. No, I don't believe it's. I believe everything goes down to motive. Why? And if you're a husband and a wife, and you like having sex, but then you can't afford to have 10 kids in 10 years, then you have to do something. You have to educate yourself, and you have to do something to be able to do that. And I don't believe that it is murder when it's prior to conception. Hey, I made it. Thanks.
Pastor Etienne. All right. All right.
Alright, so let me time myself as well. Time starts now.
It's like a debate.
Okay, first I want everyone to say out loud, sex.
Sex!
I want you to say penis.
Penis!
I want you to say vagina.
Vagina! Hell yeah!
You know why I want sex education to be taught? It is that exactly. Because right now, the problem of people is they treat their own sexuality and anatomy as a laughing matter. When you say sex, you simply look between your legs. What you have there, what you put on your biodata, male or female, that is sex. It's not the process, it's a scientific term. Okay? One thing that has to be done about overpopulation is, yes, I am okay with contraceptives, I am okay with condoms. And yes, the two gentlemen to my right may find this offensive, but I have no qualms about premarital sex. But the thing is, if you're gonna do it, make sure that it is an educated and conscious choice. Make sure that when you are gonna do it, you respect your partner and you respect yourself. Right? You don't put roofies in their drinks.
Rape date.
Yeah. You don't put roofies in their drinks or get them drunk or maybe drug them. No, hell no. Don't do that. Why do you even want to do that, man? You see, when you have sex, you make sure you respect yourself, you respect your partner. You know them for who they are, for what they are, or at least you know yourself. And be sure to always be protected. Because sure, overpopulation is a problem. But so are STDs. And trust me, you do not want those. I have been with people who are positive, and I am telling you, it is not a good um, situation. It is not something they can just simply laugh about. So, of course, I really think that the RH bill, I really think that sex education is the answer, but not just the only answer. People need to look at themselves with respect first as well. They need to carry themselves as human beings. And they need to treat each other as human beings, not as simple sex toys or playmates or whatever. Phobos.
So, um, on that note, you are okay with having sex outside of marriage.
Yes.
But don't you think that being in the state of marriage or being inside marriage would be more respectful and more responsible in that sense? How would you delineate that?
Well, if you're gonna do it inside marriage, then of course there is a different how do I say this? Connotation. There's a different value with that. In as much as when you're eating in a buffet because you can just afford it, and when you're eating in a buffet because you're celebrating something, right?
So is it a bigger value, a better value, or a lesser value?
It again depends on people. If you're gonna ask me, then fine. If I get married and I'm gonna have sex with my wife, then sure, it has a bigger value than my past partners. But then again, it depends on other people. I do not represent everyone who has had premarital sex over the years, right? Well, my message is simple. Educate yourselves and treat yourselves with respect and treat other people with respect.
Mr. Chris, everyone. You guys are okay? Are you sure? I'm okay. I have my water, so I'm great. So, Reverend Father Pascual.
Well, let me address first the question of overpopulation. Recently, Japan has been in the newspapers. They have very few babies now. Very few marriages are having children. And there's a lot of abortions. It's a problem for Japanese society. In Europe, many of the countries before had big families, but now they have no children or one child, and they don't have enough. They don't have enough people. They depend on people from other countries to come to do the work. They can't support the older. So here in the Philippines, we seem to have too many people, but in many places throughout the world, they don't have enough people. Look at Singapore. In the 1970s, Singapore limited a married couple to 2 children. If you had more children, they would tax you heavily. Now, they are encouraging married people to have more children. They need more people in Singapore. So the question of overpopulation is a nebulous question. Now, about human sexuality, it's perhaps it's the greatest gift God has given to man. To have sex with someone you love, a committed sexual life with intimacy, and that comes in marriage. If you have it outside of marriage, it's not the same as in marriage. And the sexual drive is very strong. So many people do have sex before marriage, but it's not the same. It's really a consecrated act in marriage. So the Catholic Church holds that every sexual act has to be both unitive, love-making, and open to life. So that was the teaching of Paul VI in Humanae Vitae. So not only the church is against contraception, the church is against abortion. The church is against contraception. What is the church for? I think you are wrong in saying the church's position is abstinence. The church is not for abstinence. The church is for a healthy sexual life for married people. What the church does propose is natural family planning, which is perhaps the biggest secret in the Catholic Church, and most people don't know about natural family planning. So it's based on the fertility of the woman. There are certain times of the month that a woman is not fertile. So if a woman practices natural family planning, the married couple will not have sex when a woman is fertile, but the times when she's infertile, then they can have all the sex they want. So it's not abstinence, it's natural family planning. And the thing with contraceptives is that the man makes a woman an object, and they lack the really full integrated sexual union. In natural family planning, you have to have a sensitivity. You have to have a care for each other. You have to have an awareness of your human sexuality. You have to have a spirituality. You have to have a spirit of sacrifice that you can forego sexual activity at certain times in a month. And what happens with that, it brings the couple more closely together. So if they're foregoing human sexual intercourse, say for a week during the month, when they resume it, it becomes even better. That's the experience of people that practice natural family planning. So that's the position of the Catholic Church. Now, about the RH law, the church has fought the RH law, but there's something in the RH law which is very important. I just want to finish this. It's the promotion of natural family planning. The church, the RH law is allowing natural family planning as well as contraceptives. So if the church can convince the people to be instructed in natural family planning at the health centers, more people will practice natural family planning, and the government will be helping the church.
Thank you, Reverend Father Pascual. Issue number 3.